What's up guys, welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. Today we're checking out something brand new from Flywoo, just released today. It's the Flywoo CineRace20. This is the Polar Nano version for DJI. It has a Vista on board up to 700 milliwatt, and you can also get an analog pro version and the standard analog version. So I'm going to talk about the differences between those two in this video, and we're going to talk about how this flies, how durable it is, and how well it tracks, how the tune is, and how well it can fly cinema. You can put either the Caddx Peanut on board. They do include a little TPU mount that goes up here, and also a full-size decased, what we consider now full-size, a decased GoPro or the Firefly X. I have been flying the Firefly X pretty much since I got it on just about all my aircraft. So you're gonna get to see some pretty epic footage today in this review of the CineRace20, but you're gonna be impressed by this. It tracks really well, and it doesn't have a lot of jello, which is amazing because this doesn't have the type of stabilization that a GoPro Hero 8 could get you, so, or the 10. And I'm not sure that anyone's decased to 10 yet, but we're waiting to see that. I'm sure someone's going to do it. It does have pretty nice motors on here, running a 4S 900 milliamp battery from Flywoo today, and those are 12 series motors. They're 1203s. We have 3400 kVs, and these are the NIN V2s on here, and they're downward facing, and I've talked about that before. Upward facing motors and creating downward thrust through the frame gives you a little more prop wash and causes a little more work for the flight controller, whereas this one has downward thrust, so there's nothing hitting the thrust on the bottom there. So nice clean airflow, and it seems to be a more stable type of aircraft for cinema filming. So this is a pretty good pairing, and I think we should go out now and we'll do some flying, epic flying in Oregon here, and we will come back after the break and we'll talk about the CineRace20 a little further in depth. Here we go. Alright guys, welcome back from the flight test. That was impressive. Very nice tracking, not a lot of jello in the camera, and not a lot of washout on some pretty big maneuvers around those trees. Taking a pretty good dive back toward the ground. On smaller quads and this much battery with a camera on board, I've seen flight controllers kind of give us that momentary freak out and what we call tumble, and that will cause a crash. So I did not have that in my test, which is really good, and it was a little bit of wind out there today. So first things first, it's on the scale with everything on board. The total takeoff weight is 246 grams with the Firefly X light on there. So that is a 4S 900 milliamp battery. That's freaking nice. So if you're worried about getting something under 250 grams, this is great. Everything you want on board, including a Vista. So the standard analog Pro and the regular analog versions should be well under 247 grams. If you add a peanut, it might even be lighter than this camera. This one is an upwards, I think it was around like 32 grams or so. Just double check on that. But yeah, the Firefly X is looking at 35 grams and probably a couple extra grams for that little tiny wire that comes along with it that goes to the balance lead to plug it in. The reason that I fly the Firefly X, well, mostly is because it has SD card support, and I think that the 60 frames per second looks pretty good. And this is kind of like my favorite budget camera right now. It fits most of these decased camera mounts, which is really nice. They included 2 in my kit, and I'm not sure if they're going to do that for yours, but in the box you get quite a few things. Let's just open up the box and show you what comes in your box. It has all the specs right here as well. ELRS 2.4 version. I have the Polar Nano 4S motors, and the stack is the Goku GN4055 AIO. 20 amp ESCs on here. It's a 25 by 25 stack, so it's a little different than the standard 20 by 20. We also get some extra hardware in here of different sizes. Looks like an extra camera bolt right there with a couple, looks like metal lock nuts along with that. We get some extra black gem fan 51 millimeter 20 by 20 5-blade props in here. Those are nice to have. I brought those along in the flight test as well. And it looks like we get some tips in here from the team at Flywoo. It says, firstly connect the USB, ensuring normal operation of the electronic device, then plug in the battery. When connecting the flight controller with USB, do not touch the flight controller components by hands, otherwise electrostatic short is greatly possible, unless, of course, you are wearing an anti-static bracelet, which most engineers do when they work on computers. So treat this thing kind of like a computer when you're plugging it in. I've made the mistake of actually setting on my laptop before, or something metal like the top of your car. You have to watch out because carbon's conductive. And the bottom of this is carbon, but they have a little bumper on the bottom, by the way. You get 2 straps in the box as well, and this one's kind of nice. It's one of the straps that I don't really care for because it does have kind of that no buckle on it really, no metal buckle, but it has extra coating on here. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but it has an extra thick plastic coating on this strap, which makes it really nice. But light's not cooperating with me. But also in the box we have several different mounts here, some extra props, and I really like these bright colored props. If you crash, it's kind of easy to find it with those. And this is the Cadex Go 2, or possibly the Peanut mount. The Peanut might be actually smaller around than the Go 2, I believe. And here's an extra, looks like decased GoPro mount. And there were 2 versions of this mount, by the way. So you can see there. This one has a curve to it, and this one's straight up and down, which is the one that I use for my Firefly X. And let's see here. It looks like we have, yeah, there we go. That's probably the Peanut mount, and then this would be the Go 2 mount. This is a little bigger. That's pretty cool. They include both. Well, both in my box anyway. You get an extra cover. That's cool. They included that for your Polar. And some extra foam for the bottom of the quad. You get some tasty silicone gel. Don't eat that. Another bit. And some stickers in here as well. But this release has been on the burner for some time. And I have had this for about a week now. And I have to say that I've really enjoyed flying it. it didn't come back beat up. It does have kind of ABS plastic molded inserts here, and both of these two sides, I took this apart. This part comes off this way and this part comes off this way. The camera mount comes out the front, and this TPU mount in the back comes out this way. Now when you release these two bolts here and on the bottom, all of this comes apart, and getting it back together again, it takes a little bit of fiddling. You kind of have to hold everything together with two hands and then push these bolts back through. I would say that this is probably not the easiest quad for a beginner to work on. But once you get things apart, you can get to the flight controller, and that seems to be the case with a lot of these sort of sandwich designs. We have our XT30 coming out the side right here. The TPU mount just has that long bolt right there. We've got our Cadex Polar up front with an aluminum brace up front, which is nice for kind of coming in for those hard landings or crashes. And the tune on here is decent. The tune could be better, but I think where you're at out of the box, it's pretty nice. And the Nano version also comes with Bluetooth on board, so that's pretty cool. So you can hook it up to SpeedyB and do some changes inside Betaflight with your phone, which is pretty sweet. So you don't have to have the USB cable, but it does have a USB cable on the bottom. You just have to be super careful that you're grounded when you plug it in. We have a little capacitor down there as well. We have, I believe we have motors that were soldered to the board. So this is a little different than the Beta FPV quad that I was flying that have plug-and-play batteries. And one thing that I have to notice about this is that when I first opened it up out of the box, I was a little disappointed because there was no way to get to the Vista. Because first thing you got to do is always, you have to register your DJI Vista, and I wasn't able to get to the port. I couldn't bend this down, I couldn't get to it, so I actually very, very carefully took some snips and I just snipped away this ABS prop guard right here. It is kind of not the greatest job in the world, but it allowed me to just barely get that USB in there. So if you get one of these, I would probably suggest just taking the whole thing apart. It's a total pain in the butt, but that's one of the things you're going to have to do. You're actually going to have to take this apart to be able to get to this USB port. And there's so many designs out there right now that have Vistas on them. I'm not sure why Flywoo decided to not have access to that port. But other than that, the tune is good. The power is it feels like the right combination of motors. We don't get too much sag even in some of my older batteries with the 12 series motors. There's a 1203s, 3800. It's a high enough kV that when you're flying and you are flying towards something that you need to kind of hop over, you can give it enough throttle to be able to comfortably go a couple feet up really fast. So when you're kind of skirting through tree branches and you're just kind of exploring the tree canopy, it's a lot of fun. And I did some of that. You can see, I'll put some of the video up. And once I got up into the trees, since I have this inverted motor design, this really slows it way down. When you just back off the stick, the forward stick, it really, really slows down nice. And that also has to do with your camera. If you want to do like tree exploring with this quad, just lower this camera down to about, say, maybe something like 15% or 10% even. Almost level, but not quite. And you'll get some really nice slowed down footage. If you're looking for that really nice slow cinema footage, you can do the same thing. If you're looking for a nice slow pan, that's what we do for professional drone photography. So overall, it is doing pretty good. And other than the gripe about not being able to access the Vista on here, I feel like this one is a good product. And I think they're going to do quite well with this one. For the analog version, hopefully that one's going to be affordable, maybe around the 200 range, I'm guessing, and then the Analog Pro will probably be something like 225, and then the Polar Nano version, this one might even be up past $300, but you will find out today. So you can click those links down below and get in on the giveaway for this one. This is our October giveaway, so watch all the Drone Camps videos in October and comment on any one of them. subscribe and send us an email on dronecamps.com on our contacts page, and that'll get you entered in for October's giveaway. So we're giving this one away. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic giveaway. HD version of the Flywoo CineRace20 with a polar camera on board. So super, super sweet. So you can give it a shot. Thanks again for watching, guys, and subscribing as always. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.